Hello, 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 hello. It is 7:30, and today we are celebrating Bernardo's birthday. He would have been 122 years old today. Today is August 17th, 2023. Grandpa was born August 17th, 1901 in Victoria, Brazil, and my name is Erica. I am Bernardo's oldest grandchild, and it is my absolute privilege, honor, and pleasure to be with you here this evening. So every year I like to come up and do something, to celebrate him, to remember him, and to encourage you to keep going in your health journey, because there's nothing worse than losing your health. Really not. It's quite warm where I am today. I hope that you are somewhere cool. Let me adjust this. So if you see my fanning myself with a with a fan, you know why. So I've prepared a lot of notes for this evening. I welcome anyone here who's watching. And I wrote all this things down because I'm trying not to forget anything. That being said, when you talk about Bernardo, we're talking about a lot of things. There's a lot to him. So just know that I'm trying my best to give you the basics and give you a good foundation. But as always, there are books that you can read that he wrote that actually are available in 3 different languages. And if you stick around to the end, there's going to be a surprise. Now, I think I'm going to adjust my chair. Just give me one moment, please. There we go. That's better. Okay. So I was doing some pondering, and there is a question that comes up a lot. And I wanted to put it in context. I remember Grandpa said to me one night that, he always wanted to be like his father. But he said, but I couldn't be like my father because I was me and he was him. And so why do I say that? Of course, his father was someone who he learned an immense amount from. But still, there was still individuality there. We're still individual persons. And I want you to keep that in mind while I talk about these things, these principles and these foundations this evening. The principles are really universal for what the human body needs. But sometimes when you get down to specifics, you may need to make some adjustments, because as Bernardo used to say, everyone, how did he put it? He said, the chemicals in everyone's body is different. So the metabolism, your metabolism, how things may or may not agree with you, we're all made a little bit differently. And that's a good thing. So as always, you have to listen to your body. So the topic, or how I decided to title this celebratory live stream tonight, is how you can apply Bernardo's principles of health to your own life. So let me get into it. Okay, so Bernardo built his life. It was really a lifestyle for him. He was not a person who dieted or counted calories or this type of thing. He really treated his body as a temple. And the foundation upon which he built his life was a solid one, because it was based on good habits, it was based on consistency, planning ahead, discipline, self-love, or you could say self-care. Are you ready to go over the pillars now, these foundations? Okay, so the first thing, good sleep. Good sleep is very, very important, and it's something that, at least in America, people tend to be very deprived of. People are living on caffeine. But you can definitely say that early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. Definitely applied to Bernardo. Now, that being said, he went to bed at 9 o'clock at night, unless he was making a lecture or a speech somewhere. This is after putting in a full day's work, especially when he was a younger man. And when I mean a younger man, I'm talking about when he was in his 90s, because when he was in his 90s, he was still working at a country club as a chef. And so when you're working as a chef, if you're working in the restaurant industry, you're going to be on your feet 8, 9, 10 hours a day. You have to open early, right? You have to prep everything. Everything has to be prepared. Things are made to order. And then after you are done for the day, of course, everything has to be cleaned up, put away, and set up for the next morning. So he was habituated to getting up at 4 in the morning, about 4 o'clock in the morning, maybe even a little bit earlier than that, and going to bed at 9. Now, that might not exactly work for you, but the takeaway here is that whatever time you are going to bed and whatever time you are rising according to your work schedule, it's important that your sleep be profoundly restful, that it be unbroken, and that you get an adequate amount of sleep for yourself. Of course, that varies from person to person. Some people are fine with 6 solid hours, some people 7, some people 8, some people need a little bit more than that. Children, of course, need a lot of sleep because they are growing, and they grow at night. That's when the growth hormone kicks in. Good sleep, that is a very important pillar. Second pillar, plenty of water. Bernardo drank plenty of water. But what is plenty? Well, plenty, the symptoms of not having plenty of water would be feeling dizzy, seeing black spots in your vision, experiencing muscle cramping, severe muscle cramping all the time. Perhaps you are experiencing lower back pain. So a lot of times this lower back pain, of course, if you haven't pulled the muscle, is really your kidneys crying out for help. When you're dehydrated, your kidneys feel that, and your kidneys, of course, are located in your lower back. So in general, people will say that drinking 8 glasses of water a day is a good thing to do. Drinking it after a meal, not drinking it before a meal, drinking it after a meal. Of course, Bernardo also drank a lot of green tea during the course of the day. So he said that water is the body's cash flow. So it helps flush out toxins. Again, it prevents things like getting dizzy, fainting, cramping. It keeps your kidneys on the up and up. It's very, very important. And it also helps keep the largest organ in your body. Do you know what that is? The largest organ in your body is actually your skin. So if you want to have nice, glowing skin, hydrated looking skin, drink a lot of water. Very important. The third foundation of Bernardo's life was daily exercise. If you can do nothing else, you can walk. Walking is free. It keeps the blood flowing, keeps the blood circulating. Of course, blood delivers nutrients to all parts of the body, right? Your heart, all your vital organs, very important. The blood, of course, is also helping carry out toxins. And it also keeps your digestion working properly. I mean, if you've ever been to Europe, in Italy, for example, or Spain, or a lot of places, it's the custom after dinner, people will get up and they will go out for a walk, because this helps the digestive system get it moving, so you're not just going to bed with all this food on your gut. So there's many, many benefits to walking. That being said, Perhaps your thing is running. Perhaps you're into swimming. Perhaps you like going to the gym and lifting weights. Perhaps you like doing Zumba or dance or aerobics. Whatever it is that you like to do, keep it up, because that's what's going to keep you young. When you stop moving, you become stiff, and that's really when aging sets in. So an object in motion stays in motion. If he couldn't go outside, he also had an arrangement to be able to do his exercise inside. He had an inside walker. He also had kind of a bicycle-like exercise object for his legs. He had his weights. Jose Veloso, hoy cal a atualidade de seu alvo. I wish I knew what you were saying. I'm gonna look later and look up your question in Google Translate, but unfortunately I don't speak Portuguese. So I'm sorry that I can't answer your question right now, Jose, but I will get back to you, I promise you. Okay, so the next thing would be relaxation. Bernardo, my grandfather, he really considered relaxation to be an activity. So I recall several times being over at my grandparents' house, hanging out with Georgette, with his wife, just talking, and then my grandfather coming home from work. And we would talk for a little while and exchange pleasantries, and then he would go into his den and he said, "And now I'm going to relax." And he would close the door and he would turn on the ball game, because his way of relaxation, he was a big Yankees fan, so he would watch the baseball game. One thing about him is that he had no problems letting go. Once he walked through that door, he was home. Whatever he went through the day, whatever cares, whatever challenges he had, he left those outside of the home. Once he got in the house and it was time to relax, took off his shoes, kicked up his feet in his lazy boy, turned on the TV and watched the ball game. Now, perhaps for you, relaxation might be gardening. Maybe it would be spending time with your pets. Maybe you watch a movie. Whatever it happens to be, it's extremely important to take that time to relax, because, as Grandpa would always say, stress is a killer. There's so many diseases that arise from stress. Oh, the book in Portuguese, Jose, is called, it's Além dos Centenário, Como Viver Bem até Nosso Segundo Século. And that's in Portuguese. It comes in color, and it's a great book. It's very inspiring. Okay, moving on. Sunshine or vitamin D. My grandfather always made sure that he got plenty of sunshine. So vitamin D is important for your immune system. It's important for your mood, right? If you're feeling depressed, you might consider getting a little bit more sunshine or a little bit more vitamin D if you're in a place where it's not so sunny. It's also important for fighting off colds. It's important for recovery, right? If you're doing any kind of sports, it's important for your immune system. I think I already mentioned that. Also, interestingly enough, there's so many important things about vitamin D. Important for strong bones, for bone strength, and also, for example, women that are pregnant. If they are deficient in vitamin D, there's been research which shows that their children are born with a weak digestive tract and respiratory problems. Sometimes you hear about babies wheezing, right, or having a wheezing problem. So if there's not adequate vitamin D that the mother is able to pass on, then that can manifest in those diseases in a child, in a baby. So vitamin D is extremely important. So he always made sure that he had that. He spent time outside. Skin care, hair care. I already alluded to the fact that skin is your largest organ, that it's very, very important to take care of. And so his approach is that he used extra virgin olive oil on his skin and on his hair. He was a big fan of extra virgin olive oil, not only eating it, right, putting it in his food, sauteing his vegetables with it, but also putting it on his skin. People used to remark that he didn't have any wrinkles, and he didn't have any wrinkles because you won't wrinkle if you use extra virgin olive oil. And I know people are spending a lot of money on very fancy creams and all of that, but real good quality olive oil is medicinal. The Greeks prized olives, and their trees were considered sacred, and of course there was even that expression, olive skin. So that's where it comes from. Also, he would use olive oil as pomade on his hair. He didn't use hair gels, he didn't use hairsprays, he didn't even use commercial pomades. He would just take a little olive oil and he would put that on his hair. Not every day. I don't want to give the impression that he drenched it on his hair, but that's what he used on his hair because he was of the opinion that using gels and a lot of artificial chemicals on your hair caused breakage and ultimately could make your hair fall out. My grandfather had 2/3 of his hair right up until the time that he was 114 when he passed, when he crossed over to the other side. Okay, foot care, nail care. So there used to be this expression, metrosexual, men being metrosexual, which I always thought was interesting and kind of funny because, of course, in my grandfather's day, men groomed themselves. And then, of course, we seem to have gone through a period of time where men were not grooming themselves, just kind of dressing any which way, not really caring for their appearance. But my grandfather always cared for his appearance. He was quite the clothes horse. But that extended also to, he would get manicures on a regular basis. And in terms of self-care, when he came home at night, another part of his relaxation routine is that he would soak his feet in an Epsom salt bath using a generous amount of extra virgin olive oil. Once again, about 2 tablespoons in there. He would have the water as hot as he could comfortably stand it, and he would soak his feet in that using a pumice stone to gently remove any dead skin that might have accumulated on his feet during the day. So when I first saw him doing this and using the extra virgin olive oil, it puzzled me. But I realized after taking up the practice and doing it myself that it actually helps lift all the dirt that can be stuck to the soles of your feet. So it actually lifts off the dirt. Of course, the Epsom salts are very relaxing. Salts are very good also for helping getting rid of anything dead that's laying around. If you've ever been to the beach and you have walked through the water on the sand, not only is the sand a natural exfoliator, also you'll notice that so many of the dead skin and roughness and dryness that you had that when you arrived at the beach are gone. And then after he did that, then of course he would rinse off his feet using Castile soap or ivory soap. A lot of people have asked, where can you get Castile soap? I can tell you that there is one brand named Dr. Bronner's. They are out of Vista, California. Their stuff is widely distributed all across the country. It comes in liquid form. It also comes in bars, but if you don't have that, you could use something like Ivory or maybe like Neutrogena, something very gentle and then thoroughly dry your feet. So his feet really were soft as a baby's bottom. I never saw him have any calluses or anything like that. This is a great form of relaxation. It's a great form of slowing down, of self-care, and it also keeps your feet that you depend on so much on healthy. Okay, so now I want to get into the principles of his diet. So the principles of his diet really are based on supplying your body with the foods with a very high nutrient content, right? Also keeping his colon and his liver clean, and having 3 healthy bowel movements a day. So a lot of the premature aging that people are going through, it can be brought upon, of course, due to stress, but it also is brought upon by people eating food that is empty, that doesn't have any nutrition in it, by eating fast food, by eating processed food, by eating packaged foods. Grandfather always said that we should try and eat as close to nature as possible, that this is really, really important. But also he did supplement his diet. So you know that he supplemented his diet with superfood. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. The reason for that is, our soil is very depleted here in America. It's very, very depleted, and crops also need nutrition as well. So when you're eating food that is farmed using these methods that they use in agribusiness, things aren't going to taste as sweet, right? The fruits and the vegetables aren't going to taste as sweet because they don't have the nutritional content that they need. So I try and encourage people, if they can, to frequent a farmer's market or maybe a food co-op where they can get better quality fruits and vegetables. But at the very least, try and eat organic. So moving on, Bernardo always ate at regular fixed times daily. Didn't matter if he was at work or he was at home, he always ate at fixed times, because he would say, if you are, let's say you're breaking your fast at 8 o'clock in the morning, if you're not consistent with that, your stomach, your body is waiting for that break fast, that nutrition, that food to come. If it doesn't come, then the stomach produces all kinds of acids, right? And then that produces a discomfort. And also, you're really not able to maintain your alertness, you're not able to maintain your blood sugar level in the way that you really, that you need to. So eating at regular fixed times is really, really important. Okay. Also, he used to eat before he went out. If he was going to go out and socialize, or if he was going to go out and make a speech, he ate before he left. That was his principle. If you do that, not only are you not going to feel hungry before you arrive at your destination, but you're going to be sticking to your schedule. You're not going to be eating and indulging in a lot of junk food, let's say, at that party. And also, you're not going to be eating too late. So all that food is sitting on your stomach, which is extremely hard to digest. So again, this principle of keeping your colon clean, right? Keeping things moving, not laying there at night with all this food on your stomach, that is going to make, that is going to just lay there and rot. Remember, again, earlier I mentioned that in Europe, people will go out after dinner and take a walk after dinner. Eating plenty of fresh fruits that are ripe and juicy on a daily basis. Every day, every day he had blueberries. He was an absolute freak and fanatic for blueberries, but there's a good reason for that, because blueberries are good brain food. Aside from being delicious, they're very good brain food for you. But trying to make this personalized for you, maybe you live in a place or maybe you live in a country where blueberries aren't readily available. My grandfather told me, he said, do you realize that there's at least 180 different kinds of berries in the world? He just thought that was the greatest, right? He was fascinated by that. So research your local area, your country. Are you in India? Are you in China? Are you in Afghanistan? Where are you? Try and find something equivalent that is going to be good for your brain, for your health that you can have. I mean, God is very kind. He makes sure that whatever part of the world that you're from, that there are things that are there that are appropriate to help your organism. For example, I was talking to someone and I was saying, well, what do you have in Ireland? I mean, I'm under the impression that there may be a lot of kind of a respiratory illnesses in Ireland just because it's so damp. What do you do? And he said, oh, well, actually, we drink Irish moss. We make a tea out of that, and that helps clear up, any respiratory issues. And I was like, wow, that's fascinating. So don't be afraid to do some research and see what's been made available to you that you can use. That's local. So fruit salad, if you're here on this channel, you already know that there's a fantastic demo of Bernardo making a fresh fruit salad with grapes, 2 kinds of grapes, apples, 2 kinds of citrus. He would use navel oranges and also grapefruit. And then of course he would put blueberries in that. And if he really wanted to be fancy, if you get his whole, his hands on fresh juicy pineapple, well, that only made it so much better. And he would just squeeze the juice for that. Okay, so we've already touched about maintaining your brain health daily, of course, through adequate sleep and foods like organic blueberries and also unprocessed peanut butter. We didn't eat peanut butter with sugar in it, right, with all that kind of stuff in it. He preferred, actually, if he could, to grind his own peanut butter. Sometimes if you go to supermarkets, they'll actually have a peanut butter grinder and you can grind it so you can get it fresh. Or sometimes you'll notice that they'll actually grind a bunch fresh and have that available as opposed to the other commercial brands that have been sitting there for God knows how long, right? I'm feeling great, Rebecca. I hope you're feeling great as well. Today is Bernardo's 122nd birthday anniversary, and we are celebrating that today, and thank you so much for joining. Okay. Also, Bernardo used true cinnamon for healthy blood, right? He eschewed white sugar. The only sweetener he used was honey. He said it was a food that never spoiled. Of course, there's a lot of health benefits to honey as well, but he didn't use white sugar. Nope, 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 no white sugar. And no stevia, no sweet and low, no Splenda, none of that. If you do your research on those things, you'll find that what they're made out of, even though they do a good job of marketing it, is pretty shocking. So it's not good. Snacking. People always wanted to know, did Bernardo snack? Bernardo snacked on nuts and seeds. He was also very fond of bananas. I've already mentioned the fruit salad. So if you went over to his house, you weren't going to find a bunch of candies and things like that on his coffee table. You would see cashews, almonds, macadamia nuts, peanuts. Those are the types of things that he had as a snack. Also, he was fond of having a little toast with, again, peanut butter. I think I already mentioned that he was quite fond of bananas. For him, that was good for him because he appreciated the potassium levels in it and also the fiber, again, getting back to keeping your colon clean. So all of these things, obviously the fresh fruits, that's gonna keep things moving, right? I had mentioned, again, that if you're eating 3 times a day, you should be passing stool at least 3 times a day, 3 bowel movements a day. And sometimes I say that to people and they'll be like, oh, but that's actually normal. It's not normal to only go, pass stool once a week or once every 4 days, or some people once a month. I knew a woman who had such a problem with that, that she had to be taken to the hospital on a regular basis and have herself cleaned out. So you want to make sure that that is happening. Or you might have a health salad. The health salad was really good too. There's a recipe for that in Beyond 100. So the health salad is basically made out of 2 kinds of cabbage, It's made out of green cabbage, red bell pepper, celery, onion. He liked to use yellow onions for that, and then an emulsion with, again, apple cider vinegar and honey, and then tossing all those things together, which would make a great probiotic. Now I'm gonna move over here because it is getting very dark in here, and I don't think you can see me properly, so I am going, yeah, this is better. I'm going to move. There we go. I'm gonna move and, all right, and put this on another surface here. There we go. That's a little bit better. It's a little dark in here. We've done some renovations around here and we don't have all our lamps. Thank you for understanding. Okay, so now we're about 30 minutes into this. I wanna move along a little bit more quickly here. Let me see. Another great snack to have are actually apples. If you look in the beginning of Beyond 100, Bernardo talks about apples, about being a good first food for children, but it's also good for us as well. I mean, just to give you an example, if I've had a long day and I don't really feel like eating pizza or anything like that at the end of the day, I will also I will often leave the house with a good juicy apple. So because I know, that at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock, whenever I get out of that job, I'm going to be hungry, and that is a great snack, that helps boost my energy level also to get home instead of bringing it down. Okay, so now the other principles or foundation of good health for him. He didn't eat any red meat, he didn't eat pork, he didn't eat chicken, he didn't eat beef, he didn't even eat eggs. It's not that he didn't know how to use eggs because he was a master baker. But I never saw him eat any eggs. I'm not telling you can't eat any eggs. People just want to know what he did. So I'm telling you what he did. Aside from his feelings of compassion, he said, if you've ever visited a slaughterhouse, that will probably change your mind about eating red meat. But also the other thing about red meat is that it is extremely hard to digest, and it just sits there on the colon. I mean, I've heard people getting colon cancer from eating very heavy meats and proteins like that. I've never heard that happening to anyone, for example, who was, maybe eating fish, right? Of course, he was very fond of fish also. He was a seaman. It turns out that, fish has long-chain omega-3 fatty acids in it, so it's good brain food. But again, getting back to being personal and being unique, you may be, a very strict vegan or just a vegetarian, like myself, and I don't eat fish at all. I haven't eaten fish. I remember when I used to go over to Grandpa's house and he'd be making like shrimp cocktail fresh. He would ask me if I wanted shrimp, and I would go, no, I don't want it. And he's like, you sure? You don't want it? You sure? And I was like, no, thank you. So for him, that was a bit puzzling because he loves seafood. But for me, I wasn't interested in that. So what have I done to replace that to keep my brain healthy? Well, oils like sunflower seed oil, pumpkin seed oil, or just having sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, flax seeds. These are very good for your brain also. Also, there is something called purslane, which you're gonna see at a farmer's market. I'd be very surprised if you found that in a supermarket. But purslane is like a green succulent, comes out at certain times of year, actually kind of around this time of year in August, and it is very high in omega-3 fatty acids. The other thing that is very good for the brain is whole yogurt, not low-fat yogurt. The whole point of having yogurt, from a cow who is transforming grass, ideally, is eating grass and sort of transforming that sunshine and all those minerals ultimately into milk, is that the fat is good for your brain. That's the takeaway here. So fish might not be it for you. Yogurt might not be it for you. But again, there's different seeds and oils, like walnut oil, sunflower seed oil, pumpkin seed oil, that you can take. Just make sure that you keep that stuff refrigerated. Let me see. Greens. How could I forget mentioning green vegetables? People want to know how many green vegetables, or how much green vegetables did Bernardo consume every day? He consumed green vegetables 3 times a day. How is that possible? Because in the morning, he would have his superfood. And if you read the ingredients on superfood, there is a lot of, there's spirulina, there's purple dulse, there's algae, there's kale. There's so many green things in that. So right away, he would use that. I personally love green vegetables. They are such a boost, right? They help you oxygenate. They provide so many good nutrients, and of course, they help keep your colon clean. Also, you can use the stalks of asparagus or broccoli or kale, things that you would normally throw away, to make a wonderful juice out of. So there's no need to waste anything. He didn't waste anything. He was very, very economical in the kitchen. The other things that Bernardo did to keep his health together, his brain health. He was very active and engaged doing crossword puzzles. He did crossword puzzles on a regular basis because it made him think, and he had to remember, right? And then of course there's a challenge, what is 13 across, what is 5 down, forming these words together. Maybe there's something that you would like to do to keep your brain active. Solving math problems, for example, without using a calculator, or perhaps trivia games, right? Jeopardy. Why do people like Jeopardy so much? Because it forces them to remember and to think, to connect the dots. So that was very, very important for him. Maintaining social connections and living with purpose. Bernardo always had a great social life. I can think of all the stories, that he told me about his life over the years. And it seemed like right from a very young age, he was very, what they call, precocious. And he was striking up conversations with patients in his father's waiting room, for at least from the age of 10 years old. He said he was quizzing one man who he knew was a cook and a chef at some wealthy people's houses, and he said, "Oh, I was hoping I could get some tips from you because that could help me later on." And the man said, "Yes, now when you're young, right, and your brain is fresh, you can learn those things." So here's my grandfather at 10 years old striking up a conversation. But that's something that never stopped. That's something that he did throughout his entire life. Of course, later on, he was giving lectures, he was giving speeches, he was always receiving people at home. All the kind of work that he did in the hospitality industry, the restaurant industry, working in the health field, right, going to school, going to NYU, having children, having a family, being married. He always had those interactions going on. He was also happy to be with himself, to be contented, but he had a very, very healthy social life. And he had a very strong sense of purpose. He had found his purpose in life. He wanted to be a chef, and that eventually translated into a deeper interest in nutrition, and eventually he became a health consultant. He took an herbology course, and through Dr. Richard Schultz, who was teaching that at the time, and that was just another thing that he added. He was always learning. He was always studying books. He had so many books on health and vegetables, and he was always reading about those types of things. He felt it was his duty and responsibility to stay, on the ball. Jose, my grandfather, lived to be 114 years old. He passed away on December 19th of 2015. Okay. That being said, my grandfather was not in a wheelchair. He did not have to be fed. He was still cooking his own meals. He was dressing himself. He was bathing himself. He was going out. He was socializing. He was receiving people. He was taking care of his business. it was wonderful, you know, it was wonderful. All right, so let me see, what else can I say? I just kind of wanted to go over briefly again, kind of the what ifs, you know, because he used to say, the chemicals in everyone's body is different. This is what works for me. Try and see if it works for you, right? So I think we've already kind of covered the vegan thing. You may not be interested, you know, in eating fish. Maybe you're concerned about, you know, mercury levels. And so you don't want, you know, you don't want that. You don't have to do that. I don't eat seafood. What if you can't digest black beans? Black beans, that was something that's, you know, that's a very common dish in Brazil, right? I've had someone tell me that every time they tried eating the black beans, it gave them indigestion. So don't eat it. Don't eat it. If something is giving you indigestion, you know, if the beans are fresh and if you've cooked them properly and they are soft and tender and you are still experiencing indigestion, that means that it is not agreeing with you. So instead of forcing yourself to try and eat that, try something else. There's so many other kinds of beans in the world. There's black beans. There's black-eyed peas, there's kidney beans, there's garbanzo beans, there's lentils, there's French lentils, there's red lentils, there's adzuki beans, there's mung dal, there's tur dal, there's, let me try and think, there's so many kinds of legumes. So that's important. Don't try and force yourself because you think you have to be exactly like. It's the principle. The principle is that beans are very good at lowering your cholesterol, and they're an excellent source of protein. Jose, no, the first book is not in Portuguese. It's the second book that is in Portuguese. This one. Okay, let me see now. I've already mentioned, again, the different substitutions, just some of the things you can do to get your omega-3 fatty acids, for example. And I think I'm going to stop there. I am going to stop there, but also I want to tell you that I want to give away some books tonight. I want to give away some books. I want to give away some books for people who are either in the US, right? Basically, I have to restrict this to the United States because the cost of mailing things overseas is insane. Even mailing things to Canada is insane. But if you're in the United States, I would like to send you a copy of one of Bernardo's books if you don't have one already, or perhaps you would like to gift someone or share with someone. So I'm giving away one copy of Age Less, Live More, Achieving Health and Vitality at 107 Years and Beyond. That one's in English. There's also another version of this book in Spanish. It's called Enriquece Más. Of course, the rest of the title is in Spanish. It's very beautiful. That I'm also giving away one copy to someone. Perhaps you know someone, a Spanish-speaking person, who is trying to get their health together and needs some inspiration. Also, I'm going to be giving away one copy in Portuguese of his second book. This is Além do Centenário, Como Viver Bem até no seu segundo século. So hopefully I pronounced that okay. So that's basically Beyond 100, How to Live Well into Your Second Century, the Portuguese version. It's full color. The pictures are really beautiful in here. And also there are some, recipes per se for garlic paste, how to make the cinnamon tea, how to make the health salad, how he made his superfood smoothie. So that's fun. And some beautiful pictures of his mother and his grandmother and so on and so forth. Also, I don't know what his blood type is. People ask that all the time. I don't know. I don't know what his blood type was. The principle here is to keep your colon clean, is to keep your liver clean, and to pass stool 3 times a day, to not die of stress, to know how to relax, right? To have good social connections, to get your daily exercise, to eat plenty of fresh fruits and vegetables, and green vegetables and eat as close to nature as God intended. So whether your blood type is A or B or 0 or whatever it is, those principles right there are extremely important for a healthy life, to get adequate sleep and keep up your spiritual strength as well, not to consume your mind and worry, right? To really have a firm faith that you're going to be taken care of. So I know that this has been a fad about blood types and all of that. Maybe it's important if you're going to get a blood transfusion, right? Those things have to match. But my grandfather was 0 fads. He was extremely stubborn, you could say. He followed his routine and he did it day in and day out for over 100 years, and you could not get him off that. I remember one time there was a journalist who was interviewing him, and somewhere on YouTube, and she wanted to know if he ate potato chips, or pretzels. And he said, no, I don't eat those foods. And she kept like goading him, like, come on, come on. And he got annoyed with her and he said, I told you I don't eat that junk. So my point is here for you that if you find something that works for you, that you should stick to that, right? What my grandfather did, the discipline he had, the consistency he had, the dedication he had, the faith that he had, was exemplary. It's too bad that it's not considered to be average, but in this day and age, people are always chasing after fads, and they're chasing after this and chasing after that magic bullet. He used to say, people would say, well, what's your secret? And he's like, I don't have any secrets. My secret is that I have no secrets. In other words, if you live the way God intended, you're going to be all right. If you want to have a little glass of wine or a little, whatever you want to do every now and then, that's fine. But he would say the problem is that people are making the exception the norm, and they're making what should be normal the exception. And you can't live like that, right? So let me show you my face. I'm 60 years old, right? So I'm not trying to look, I'm not trying to look like I'm 21 or something. I'm never going to look like I'm 21 again, but I'm trying to be the best version of myself that I can be. So that means that I am living my life according to these principles, that I'm making sure that I'm exercising, that I'm getting enough sleep, that I'm drinking enough water. For example, people use all kinds of creams to try and get their skin to glow and be healthy. But if you don't drink enough water, it doesn't matter how many creams you put on your skin. You've got to drink enough water. If you are smoking cigarettes, it doesn't matter how much you're going to drink. Eventually you're going to get lines and wrinkles around your mouth and wrinkles around your eyes, and you're going to deplete your skin of collagen, of vitamin C, that keeps your skin elastic and supple, right? So there you have it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I could possibly say. Yes, now, if you want a book and you don't have a book already because you can't afford a book, or perhaps you want to gift a book to someone else who you know is struggling and wants that, then please send me an email to ageless@gmail.com. ageless@gmail.com. Am I giving you the right email? I think I'm giving you the right email. There are links throughout this on these different videos to sign up to the mailing list. So you can subscribe to the mailing list, confirm your subscription, and send me an email. Okay, so let me know what you want the book for, who's it for, and how you plan on using the book. Because my grandfather used to say that he wanted everyone to have what he had. And what did he have? He had health, because health is wealth. Without your health, you can't do anything. If you've ever been through a health crisis, or you've seen someone who's gone through a health crisis, a loved one or an elder, now it's hard for them to walk and do all those things, It can be very disheartening. It doesn't necessarily have to beat you down, but don't get sick. you won't have to pay the doctor to get you well. And especially in these days and times, with everything going on, you are worth it. You know, you are worth it to love yourself and take care of yourself. So that's all I got for you tonight. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope it helped you. And I thank you very much for being here. And I'm going to sign off now. Okay, you take care. And remember, keep your liver and your colon clean. Bye-bye.